coming up on the Monday edition of Carolina Week.
I'm Philip Jones. Chapel Hill Mayor Kevin Foy adds his voice to the debate about pedestrian safety.
And then the comments you post on the internet might hinder your job prospects. We'll show you why.
In sports, Clemson hasn't had much success in Chapel Hill, ever. Would the men's basketball team keep that streak alive?
After weeks of unseasonably warm weather, it finally feels like winter. Is there any chance for a warm-up? Rob Ellis is here with that answer.
Those stories and more. Carolina Week starts right now.
From the School of Journalism and Mass Communication at the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, this is Carolina Week.
Good evening and welcome to the February 6th edition of Carolina Week. I'm Shelley Basinger.
And I'm Crystal Calloway. The town of Chapel Hill prides itself on its pedestrian friendliness. But last month, 2 pedestrians and a biker were killed along Chapel Hill roads. Reporter Philip Jones has been following this story for Carolina Week and is live in the newsroom with more.
Crystal, people throughout town are getting where they need to go on a bike or on foot. Chapel Hill Mayor Kevin Foy thinks the town needs to do more to protect them and says a little help from the state could go a long way. Crosswalks are designed to keep both pedestrians and drivers safe, but some of Chapel Hill's busiest intersections don't have crosswalks. Chapel Hill's mayor says the deaths of 3 pedestrians in a 3-day stretch last month demonstrate there's something wrong.
We have persuaded people to walk. More people take the bus, more people ride their bikes, and our infrastructure to accommodate them lags.
Foy says the town wants crosswalks at more intersections, but since the state owns roads like Franklin Street and Highway 15501, requests for safety improvements have to go through the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And according to Foy, getting the town and the DOT to see eye to eye is no easy task.
There are many things on which we disagree. Philosophically, one of the things that we have a greater emphasis on is pedestrian and bicycle transportation. So there's a conflict there, and you can see who's winning.
But DOT engineer Vance Barham says the state focuses more on pedestrians than cars.
Pedestrians and bicyclists are a higher priority in our decision making of what needs to be done, particularly in areas like Chapel Hill, Carborough, or any university or school setting.
Still, Foy says more can be done by both the town and the state, and he hopes Chapel Hill residents will be patient while he does what he can to keep the town's pedestrians safe.
It's difficult to be in a position of being the mayor and saying to citizens, I don't really control the roads in this town. That's hard to explain.
Crystal, both the town and the state say they're looking into new safety measures at the intersection of Highway 15501 and Manning Drive, where the UNC professor died.
Thanks, Phil. Late for class? Thinking of crossing the street anywhere at any time? Well, you might want to think again. Whether it's early or late, at any time of day you can find someone jaywalking on UNC's campus. Students ignore walk signs and risk their safety just to get to the other side of the road. Warning signs are posted across campus, and the Department of Public Safety will start giving out fines to any person the officers catch jaywalking. Yet some students, like sophomore Keith Seymour, aren't worried about getting ticketed.
Like, really, everyone jaywalks and they're not going to be able to catch everyone. I know they're not going to be able to catch me, so I guess good luck with everybody else. Yeah.
Some students, however, are making a conscious effort to use crosswalks so they won't get fined.
We're good to go! We're good to go! One student's effort to change housing policy just paid off. Sophomore Elizabeth Pascal started a petition against housing's plans to change next year's recontracting process. Housing announced mid-January that rising freshmen and sophomores would get housing priority. The reason? To encourage juniors and seniors to live in the newer and more expensive Rams Village on South Campus. But more than 500 students signed an online petition. Pascal says rising juniors should get first dibs.
I felt that it was a disrespect to seniority, and I felt that it was going to be really difficult for upperclassmen on South Campus to be able to move to North Campus or dorms that they would prefer.
Housing officials say they appreciate the comments in the online petition and are now giving priority to upperclassmen once again. UNC is using a new system to keep identity thieves at bay. As UNC employees continue their work on the grounds and in the libraries, they'll change the way they sign in and out for work. Employees will start using personal identification numbers, or PIDs, when filling out timesheets. They usually use their social security numbers, which are a big target of identity thieves. But the Identity Theft Protection Act calls for stricter guidelines for Social Security protection. This is the first pay period employees will use their PIDs this way.
Can you balance your checkbook without a calculator? According to a study by the American Institutes for Research, many of you can't. 50% of students at four-year institutions who are finishing up their degrees aren't at a proficient level of literacy. This means they have difficulty performing everyday tasks such as balancing a checkbook or comparing credit card offers. The study found this problem affects students at both private and public institutions and is closely linked to parental educational background.
If you vote for me, all your wildest dreams will come true.
Voicemails and email addresses can be funny to your friends, but they might not send the same message to potential employers. Internship and job candidates should beware that some employers are doing web searches. University Career Services Director Marcia Harris says this means students should be careful of pictures and comments they post on sites such as Facebook and MySpace.
Messages that talk about drug use, alcohol use. Sometimes I think students put those messages on just to maybe be funny, and they may not even necessarily be a drug user or a heavy alcohol user.
Harris says posting inappropriate material might influence an employer's impression of you and hurt your chances of getting a job offer.
Most clubs and restaurants hire bouncers as security guards, but how do they handle their authority? Tara Higgerson joins us from Franklin Street with more.
Franklin Street is famous for its clubs, bars, and restaurants. These places are packed several nights a week, and owners hire bouncers to help keep the peace. But with no state regulation or professional training, are they causing more harm than good?
It's a familiar scene for many college students. Friends, alcohol, bars, but a good time can suddenly become a dangerous situation.
The guy hit his girlfriend in the face and knocked her over, at which point I ran out with another bouncer and actually threw him down in a submission hold until the cops came.
Daniel Quinones has worked as a bouncer at several Chapel Hill clubs and bars. He says it's not unusual for him to get physical.
It gets to the point where you can't diffuse a situation and someone's going to hurt a lot of people. You just have to use your physical force to get them out of there as quickly as possible.
Bouncers say their job is to prevent any potentially dangerous situations. And bouncer and bodybuilder Eric Gibbs says they need more than just big muscles to be a good bouncer.
Not just the fact that they look intimidating, but the fact that they do have a level head and they're able to control themselves in a way that if something like that should happen, they're able to regain their control in a relatively quick manner.
However, Chapel Hill Police Sergeant Allison Finch says not all bouncers take the same approach.
It's not common, but it has happened, where a bouncer has probably stepped over the line and become more of the abuser than the fixer.
Come on, guys. In an escalated situation, Quinones and Gibbs admit bouncers can lose their cool. And that could be because in North Carolina, bouncers aren't required to have any formal training.
Never really any paperwork. They sit you down and tell you what they expect of you. They tell you, we don't want you throwing punches. We don't want anything to happen where people can get in danger and we can get in trouble.
A lot of times it is usually an under the table type of job where there is no taxes usually paid out on it.
And the money is decent, about $50 a night. Carolina Week wanted to know if unlicensed bouncers create problems. Finch, the police sergeant, says not often.
I think Chapel Hill has some of the very best bouncers. We have some that have moved, been in the area and doing the job for a long time, and they really know the job inside and out, and they're very professional.
Nevertheless, owners at East End Martini Bar say they're not taking their chances with a bouncer, so they hire an off-duty police officer to monitor the door.
It's been my experience in the past that bouncers have wanted to escalate a situation a little bit further than what it should be. A lot of them are larger guys that kind of want to grab and get physical really quick, whereas the police officers don't tend to do that.
The Chapel Hill Police Department says it receives at least one call each weekend from a club or a restaurant to handle a tough situation, but usually a patron that's been a little too rowdy and not the bouncer.
The obvious difference between police and bouncers is that police officers have been trained to handle tough situations. With bouncers, it's often just on-the-job training.
Though cute and cuddly, they could be deadly.
After the break, we'll show you why you might need to protect yourself from these normally furry friends.
Find ways to make your home more defensible against wildfire. What have you got to lose? Accept everything.
Hey, Mark, where are you going with your piggy bank? I'm going to give my allowance to the Interfaith Council. Why? Mom says they help people, and they need our help, too.
The Interfaith Council has been helping families for over 30 years through family services and community house. Donations come from individuals, and every donation counts.
I want to help, too.
Call the Interfaith Council at 929-6380.
An unusually high number of rabies cases plagued Orange County last year, but Animal Services hopes to change that this year. Pets and their owners waited in line for a rabies clinic at the Orange County Animal Shelter on Saturday. The clinic came on the heels of the first case of rabies in the county this year. Health officials stressed the importance of prevention of this potentially deadly disease. Vet assistant Rosa Barrera talks about why rabies is so dangerous.
It's because it's fatal. So once the disease goes into the animal system, it goes straight to the CNS, the brain, and they can die within a couple hours.
Here are some ways to protect your pets and your family. Keep your pets confined so they won't come in contact with wild or stray animals. Be aware that bird feeders and food scraps can attract infected wildlife. And most importantly, be sure to keep your pets' vaccinations up to date.
A hot merger could be in the works here in Chapel Hill. The next time you hear this, the Chapel Hill and Carrboro fire departments might be one and the same. City officials are exploring the option of merging the two fire departments. The stations are less than 2 miles apart and have a good deal of overlap. Chapel Hill Fire Chief Dan Jones is open to the idea, but not ready to commit to it.
Before I could give an opinion on that, whether it would be beneficial or not, we're going to have to examine those issues.
Carrboro recently leased land from the university to build a new fire station. This is the second attempt to unite the two departments. Carrboro backed out of the first deal about 10 years ago. A group of local churches and volunteers are fighting hunger in Hillsboro. Lindsay Michael has more about the program and its goals.
These church members in Hillsboro are participating in a program called Food for All. Reverend Ronnie Terrain founded the program, a small step towards the goal of establishing a homeless shelter.
We found out that the homeless shelter itself is just like a big puzzle, and the Food for All program is just like one piece.
I'm in the kitchen of the First United Methodist Church in Hillsboro. This is one of 8 churches that helps prepare the meals for the Food for All program. Now, as you can see, there's no one here right now, but that's because they're distributing the meals to the needy. Come with me and I'll show you.
It might be dark and cold outside, but that won't stop these volunteers from distributing the meals. Many people already waiting for their warm meal of the day greeted the van full of food. Not all the people Food for All feeds are homeless. Many are in low-income families who might have to choose between paying the bills or putting food on the table. Even the youngest volunteer says he is happy to do what he can to help.
We just want to help people that are homeless.
This night, the volunteers prepared 74 warm meals and provided juice boxes for the children. The volunteers handed out all of the meals in 15 minutes and needed more. The program is very successful, and bigger things are yet to come.
We'll continue to work on the road to the shelter, but this is just one vehicle that's going to take us there.
And with more churches joining the effort all the time, the group could reach its goal quickly. In Hillsboro, I'm Lindsay Michael, Carolina Week.
For more information about the program, visit our website at carolinaweek.org.
Those warm meals look like they'll come in handy with the chilly weather we've been getting.
I know, it was really cold today. Weathercaster Rob Ellis is here with us in the studio. Rob, it's the beginning of February, and I feel like winter is finally here.
Yeah, you're able to break out those sweaters and jackets finally. It's actually kind of nice, but despite the sunny skies, it's beginning to feel a lot more like winter. And after the break, I'll show you whether snow, that's right, I said snow, might be on the way.
Excuse me. I've been getting mixed messages about women and violence. I need a little clarification.
Uncle Bill, how am I supposed to grow up to respect women when I have such lousy role models?
Boys are never going to approach you.
Can you help me reshape my attitudes towards women?
You need to teach them that violence against women is wrong.
Immunizations are not just for kids. No matter your state of health, your age, or how you spend your day, you are at risk for serious disease if your immunizations are not up to date. Take the time to visit your health professional and find out which vaccines you need. Immunization saves lives. One of them might be yours. For more information, visit vaccineinformation.org.
Well, welcome back to Carolina Week. I'm weather forecaster Rob Ellis. Now, we have just a few clouds in the area for all over the Chapel Hill area, and those clouds are making it feel a lot more like winter. It's actually beginning to cool down, and it feels more like February, and those nights are going to be bitterly cold as we make our way through the forecast period. We'll always start out with the satellite map, and today is no different. Let's go ahead and take a look. You see lots of cloudiness here along the southeast coast, and this is the system that's going to impact us in the immediate future, but after this moves out, it's going to clear out and be much more cold. Let's zoom into the southeast and take a look at this feature. We have lots of cloudiness, and now when I drove in today from Raleigh, it was completely overcast there, but as I made my way into Chapel Hill, you see that clear spot there, and when I got here in Chapel Hill, it was completely clear. The majority of this is staying to our south, and we think that that's going to be the case. This system will likely push to the south of us and give us just a chance for some snow on Monday evening. We'll look at the radar, and we'll see that there's lots of showers and cloudiness associated with this, and most of it is in the form of rain. However, in some of the northern areas and overnight, this may change over to some snow just in the northern areas. But again, as I said, we do think that this will stay to our south, the majority of it at least. Let's take a look at the surface map, and you'll be able to see here's the low pressure, here's this storm system that's beginning to strengthen, and it's going to push off to the east, but behind it there's a high pressure system in place, and that is going to be dominating our weather for the next few days. Now for the 4-day forecast, you're able to see that we have some temperature changes as we're going to be going into a cooler period. We start out with clear skies and our temperature is 47, and that's going to stay the same as we move into Wednesday, although we have just a little bit of cloudiness in the area, and temperatures again around 46. But look at these overnight temperatures, 25 and 26 on Wednesday, and the same is going to continue all throughout this week. So the overnight lows are going to be very cold, and you may need that jacket and that sweater as you move out. As we make our way towards the end of the week, Friday, it's going to be very clear, and the temperature is still going to be much more chilly than what we've seen the rest of this season. It hasn't really felt like winter, like you said, Shelley, but it's looking great. If we can maybe just squeak out a little bit of snow out of this, it's probably not going to be measurable, but you might see a few flakes tonight.
All right, thanks, Rob. I definitely wouldn't mind seeing some snow, but I hope it doesn't mess up any travel time for people coming in for the Duke game tomorrow.
I agree. It's a big game, and it's really nice to see the boys in blue back in the rankings. Sportscaster Michael Crow joins us.
Yeah, it is. They're actually 23rd in the AP poll, 24th in the ESPN poll, which is nice to see. Coming up in sports, we'll have all the highlights from the Heels' record-tying performance against Clemson.
Come on.
And it's a block. What kind of kick was that? You've got to be kidding me. Hey, hot shot. Sounds like you know a lot about the game.
You should put that to use. Come on, let's go take a jog.
There are plenty of ways that you can volunteer in your community.
Just figure out what you like to do and pass it on to others.
And you know what? You can have a lot of fun doing it, too.
Pick those knees up. Keep going. Pick those legs up. Let's go. right. Now, show them how to kick that ball.
To find out ways you can volunteer in your community, log on to teensvolunteer.org.
Okay, Ben, here we go, buddy. That was great, Ben. This time, just try to kick the ball.
Do what you like to do. Volunteer.
Welcome to Carolina Week Sports. I'm Michael Crow. The Duke-Carolina game is Tuesday night, so that leaves one question. Got tickets? In their final tune-up before Tuesday's rivalry showdown with Duke, the Heels hosted Clemson Saturday. It was a game Carolina needed to win to keep pace in the ACC and keep alive their 51-game home winning streak against the Tigers. Matt Estrich has the story.
It didn't take long for the Heels to start the highlight reel Saturday against Clemson. Gravity-defying dunks like these by Tyler Hansbrough and David Noel staked UNC to a nearly 10-0 lead. But head coach Roy Williams wasn't impressed with the Heels' overall effort.
We weren't nearly as good defensively today, I think, as we were Thursday, but we're very fortunate. I really feel that way. I've always thought, though, that good teams get lucky sometimes, and I think that we have the makings of being a good team, but we're not there yet by any means.
The Heels rallied behind Rayshon Terry's first career double-double en route to a 76-61 victory. The forward poured in 19 points while grabbing 10 boards, but it was Terry's extra effort Saturday that helped UNC keep the Tigers winless in Chapel Hill.
I felt like, I have to step my game up a little bit, to get my team going early on, and, luckily I was able to do that today.
The Tigers were within 7 in the second half, but not even this Akin Bawa alley-oop could keep Clemson from their 52nd straight loss at UNC.
A lot of guys was talking about the streak, and we definitely didn't want to be the team to lose the streak. But at the same time, Coach Williams doesn't think the streak is that important. But at the same time, it's just another ACC win for us, and we finally got a chance to protect our home.
The surprisingly feisty Tar Heels have just another ACC game coming up Tuesday against Duke. To hang with the Blue Devils, UNC will need another gritty performance from Rayshon Terry and the rest of the Tar Heels. They should have no trouble getting fired up. In Chapel Hill, I'm Matt Estrich for Carolina Week.
Bobby Fraser scored 16 points, and David Noel finished 2 assists and 3 rebounds shy of a triple-double. The women's basketball team was on cloud 9 following their victory over #1 Duke, stealing the title as the best team in Division 1A hoops. The undefeated Tar Heels defended their #1 spot against NC State on Thursday. State started out strong with this Billy McDowell field goal. The Wolfpack ran the court and the crowd for most of the first half. This last-second Rashawn McCants three-pointer sent the Heels into halftime with a 9-point lead and a little extra confidence. The second half belonged to the Heels. Camille Little and Orlando Larkins boasted 17 points each and led UNC to a 75-58 victory. Larkins said the team had to put last week's game against Duke on the back burner and concentrate on state.
We're just excited to be #1, like Coach Chapter said, the first in UNC history, but that Sunday's game was over, and we had to focus because we knew that NC State was going to come in here and give us their best shots.
Ivory Latta finished the game with 18 points and kept UNC fans on their toes until the very end. The victory was the Tar Heels' 25th straight win in Carmichael. Well, Carolina cruised to a 76-56 victory against Georgia Tech on Sunday in Atlanta. The Heels were led again by Ivory Latta, who went 6 for 7 from beyond the arc as she torched the Yellow Jackets for 30 points. Well, it's that time of year again for Duke to return to Chapel Hill for another great rivalry game. What won't be returning is Felton, May, McCants, Williams, well, the list goes on. The Tar Heel Diaper Dandies, led by Tyler Hansbrough, will have their hands full as they try to take down Duke's bread and butter. That's J.J. Redick and Sheldon Williams. Duke comes into the game undefeated in the ACC, but they still have to call us the champs. The UNC women's track and field won the overall title at Armory Track in New York City Saturday, but back at home, things didn't turn out so pretty. Members of the track team that didn't travel to New York competed in the Carolina Invitational in Chapel Hill. Carolina didn't finish strong in front of a quiet crowd. Junior Ryan Shaver took 5th place in the 1-mile run. Carolina lost ground early and never recovered. Britt Taylor finished 9th in the 60-meter dash. The Tar Heels didn't win any individual events, however, and they ended the day with their heads down. The men's tennis team had their heads up, however, against Notre Dame on Saturday. A large crowd filled the Cone Kenfield Tennis Center to watch the men's tennis team take on the Fighting Irish. Doubles partners Ryan Lucici and Brad Pomeroy fought the Irish front, but they couldn't pull off the win, losing 8-4. But Lenny Gullen and David Stone edged out a win in their match by just letting the balls fly out of bounds. In singles, Pomeroy unleashed his one-handed backhand, but wasn't quick enough for this opponent's volley return. Lucici used his backhand, however, to win against his opponent, leading the Heels to a 4-3 victory. The men's lacrosse team hosted Greensboro College, Malloy, and Lynchburg for 3 separate scrimmages on Saturday. The face-off against Lynchburg gave many players on this year's squad their first chance to impress Coach John Haas and his staff, and the Tar Heels won this contest by a score of 6-5. The team lost several 4-year starters after last season, and starting spots at all positions are up for grabs. But 13 seniors have returned, and that gives Coach Haas a lot to feel good about as they head into the season, once they have the toughest schedule in the nation. The final dual meet of the season, the men's swimming diving team hosted a rival NC State team that hadn't lost a conference meet. Bragging rights were on the line in the final home meet for 8 seniors. The Wolfpack challenged Carolina from the start, winning the 400-yard medley relay, but the Tar Heels answered behind this Hank Browning victory in the 200-yard freestyle. Ryan Funderbunk gave Carolina an edge in the diving competition, capturing 2 individual events. The Tar Heels prevailed, finishing at 6-3 on the season. The ACC championships begin later in February. Well, it'll be exciting to see Duke return to the Dean Dome. Do y'all have tickets to go check them out?
I do.
I do. It's a senior privilege.
Great. Good to see you there.
All right,
Thanks, Mike. It's the most anticipated sports event in the ACC.
And we've got the inside scoop.
I'll show you what some students would do for a front row riser ticket to the Duke game.
North Carolina is where the wonders never cease. It's where visitors and residents alike can be touched by these things and always remember the embrace of clouds around a mountain peak, sparkling water forever in a hurry, a bridge less traveled, an enchanted wetland forest, and the place where the sun meets the sea.
If you have a story idea, contact Carolina Week at 843-8292. You can also visit us online at carolinaweek.org. If you have questions about this program, write Carolina Week at Campus Box 3365, UNCCH, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, 27599.
Bearing 40-degree weather, missing class, and listening to people snore?
These are just some of the things UNC students are willing to do for a chance to attend the big game. Reporter Megan Smith has the story.
No, aliens haven't taken over the Dean Dome, but Tar Heel basketball's biggest fans have. And they've been camping out since Saturday night to get the hardest ticket to come by in town, front row riser tickets to the UNC Duke game on Tuesday. Senior Meredith Martin says it's worth the experience, whatever the cost.
Well, we had a snore, and that was fun.
Friends delivered meals to the fans as they caught up on homework and a little poker.
Some students, like Megan and Barbara, will have camped out for 48 hours before they cheer on their Tar Heels at the front row risers at the Duke game.
So what does senior Trip Shaden say when friends tell him he's crazy?
You know, I might be crazy, but I'm a Tar Heel fan, and this is what I do.
Senior Emery Chen says this is what Carolina's all about.
It's one of the traditions of this university. Like it's one we live college basketball.
So what does senior Smith Gregg plan to do when he finally gets to the game Tuesday night?
I told at the thought of being naked completely, but I thought I might be kicked out of the stadium. So
the good news is he will make it to the Dean Dome. Although not everyone camping out will make it to the front row, they'll still be so close that you'll probably see them on the big screen Tuesday night. For them, a well-deserved win. In Chapel Hill, I'm Megan Smith, Carolina Week.
Shelly, I'm glad to be going to the Duke game, but I'm not sure if I would have gone to the links as some of those students did.
If I waited for 2 days, I want to be in between Roy and David Noel.
Good point, good point. That does it for this edition of Carolina Week.
Have a good night.